1960 Chrysler. Chrysler had a great year in 1957 with successful designs and powerful engines. But after that, sales started to decline, mostly due to reports of poor quality and questionable styling. So, in 1960, Chrysler's engineers and designers set out to deliver one of the best and most elegant sedans on the market. They offered it in 3 trim levels: the Saratoga, the Windsor, and the New Yorker. The 1960 Chrysler also introduced a big engineering milestone they called unibody construction. Back then, most new cars still used the traditional body-on-frame setup. It was rugged but heavy and had limited potential for development. Chrysler became one of the first companies to roll out this innovative approach, which later became an industry standard. Prices started just above $3,000 and went up to about $4,500 for the top-of-the-line New Yorker. Buyers could choose from V8 engines producing anywhere between 305 and 350 horsepower. 1961 Lincoln Continental. Back in the late 1950s, Ford's luxury division, Lincoln, was falling far behind Cadillac in sales, popularity, and style. Even though Lincoln was building big luxury cruisers with plenty of power under the hood, they just did not have the same appeal as Cadillac. Ford knew something had to change, and that change arrived with the 1961 Lincoln Continental. When Lincoln unveiled the new model, the automotive world was stunned. The car's elegant styling, clean straight lines, restrained use of chrome, and futuristic design turned this 4-door luxury sedan into what many considered a work of modern art. Practically overnight, sales doubled, and the new Continental was even chosen as the official car of the White House, thanks to its stately presence and understated elegance. One of its standout exterior features was the set of suicide doors, with the rear doors opening toward oncoming traffic. While not the most practical design, it added to the car's unique charm. Lincoln also offered a striking 4-door convertible version, a bold move that made it one of the most distinctive and desirable luxury cars on the market at the time. 1961 Pontiac Tempest. In the early 1960s, all the major U.S. automakers rolled out compact models. Chevrolet had the Corvair, Ford introduced the Falcon, Plymouth offered the Valiant, and Pontiac presented the Tempest. In most cases, these compacts were simply shrunken versions of bigger cars, borrowing design cues and mechanical parts. But Pontiac took a very different approach, unveiling one of the most advanced and innovative American cars of its time. The new Tempest came with fully independent suspension at a time when nearly every car on the road still used a solid rear axle. It also featured an economical 4-cylinder engine, which was essentially half of a V8, while most competitors stuck with 6-cylinder options. The most fascinating part, though, was its rear-mounted transaxle gearbox, an almost unheard-of design choice back then. Even more unusual, the Tempest didn't use a conventional drive shaft to link the front-mounted engine to the rear transmission. Instead, it had a torque tube with a flexible cable running through it. This unique layout gave the Tempest nearly perfect weight distribution and much better handling. On top of that, the absence of a bulky transmission tunnel inside meant there was plenty of room for 6 passengers. Compared to the rest of the compact car crowd, the 1961 Pontiac Tempest felt like it was from another planet. During its run, Pontiac sold over 200,000 Tempests, marking the model as a solid success. But by 1964, the company moved on to a larger, more conventional version. Despite its groundbreaking engineering, superb driving dynamics, and even a bit of motorsport success, the first-generation Tempest is remembered today mainly by die-hard Pontiac enthusiasts. Spotting one at a car show is rare, and tracking down parts is even harder. 1962 to 64 Chevrolet Impala. Chevrolet had long been locked in a battle with Ford for dominance in the full-size sedan market. In 1962, Chevy took a bold step by unveiling a new generation of the Impala that broke away from the styling norms of the day. Much like the 1961 Lincoln Continental, the 1962 to 64 Impala carried a clean, restrained elegance with straight body lines. Of course, it retained its signature styling cues, with 6 taillights out back and 4 headlights up front. Determined to rule the lucrative full-size sedan segment, Chevrolet gave the Impala every possible advantage. Buyers could choose from 5 body styles and 6 different engines, ranging from 6-cylinder options to powerful V8s. 3 transmissions were available, along with a long list of optional equipment to customize the car. But the standout was the Impala SS, offered only in 2-door and convertible form. Originally introduced in 1961, the Impala SS returned in 1962 with the fresh new body style and the same powerhouse under the hood. The legendary 409 V8, delivering up to 409 horsepower. The engine and car became so iconic that they even inspired the Beach Boys hit single, 409. Today, the 1962-64 Impala remains one of the most beloved generations ever produced. With Chevy building them in huge numbers, they're still relatively accessible, and enthusiasts praise their timeless proportions and understated style. Over its 3-year run, the design saw only subtle tweaks, preserving its balance of elegance and classic full-size muscle. 1963 Mercury Monterey Breezeway. Although Mercury is now gone, for decades, it served as Ford's affordable luxury division, positioned between the entry-level Ford models and the high-end Lincolns. During the 1960s, Mercury offered style and class at reasonable prices, making a strong competitor to Oldsmobile, Buick, and Chrysler. Taking inspiration from the Lincoln Continental, Mercury aimed to offer something fresh to attract buyers and boost sales. In 1963, they introduced the innovative Breezeway option as their top-tier model. The design featured a reverse C-pillar that created a concave profile and a retractable, tilted rear glass window. This clever solution provided more interior space and gave the car a distinctive, futuristic look. However, the Breezeway was somewhat impractical, as passengers could catch exhaust fumes at low speeds. Mercury continued offering the Breezeway on select models until 1968, when it was retired. Despite its limited popularity and influence, the Breezeway remains one of the coolest U.S. sedans of the 1960s. 1965 Ford Galaxie. Like the Chevrolet Impala, the Ford Galaxie was Ford's most important full-size series. It boasted high production numbers, a wide range of versions, and broad appeal. However, in 1964, Ford seemed a bit behind on design trends, still offering heavily chromed models with late 1950s styling cues. For the 1965 model year, Ford unveiled the all-new Galaxie, featuring stacked headlights, fresh sheet metal, and more versions and options than ever before. The most popular models were the base trims, like the Custom, but Ford also offered the Galaxie 500 LTD, a luxury version with a vinyl roof and upscale details and creature comforts. By 1966 and 1967, Ford took it a step further, turning the 2-door Galaxie into a bona fide muscle car with a high-powered 7-liter model. 1966 Pontiac Bonneville. The success of the GTO had a ripple effect across Pontiac's entire lineup. Almost overnight, Pontiacs became sportier, more powerful, and more aggressive in design. Even the 4-door sedans started to feel like performance machines. The biggest and most luxurious of them all, the Bonneville, is a perfect example. Pontiac had restyled it in 1965, but by 1966, the design had truly matured. The Bonneville evolved into an elegant, low, and sleek form, making it the ideal performance-oriented full-size sedan. It was offered as a hardtop with Pontiac's signature wide-track stance, a split grille, and 9-bolt wheels. Buyers had a wide range of options, both in equipment and under the hood. The standard engine was the 389 V8 rated at 325 horsepower, but enthusiasts could step up to the mighty 421 V8 with a legendary tri-power setup, delivering 360 horsepower. 1967 Ford Thunderbird. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is the Thunderbird showing up on a list of sedans? After all, the T-Bird was known as a 2-door personal luxury coupe. But in 1967, Ford shook things up by introducing a 4-door version, and not just any 4-door, but one with Lincoln-style suicide rear doors. By this point, the Mustang had completely shifted the market, and Ford had to reposition the Thunderbird. Instead of being a sporty coupe, it moved further upscale into the luxury segment. And to appeal to buyers who wanted more space and comfort, Ford rolled out this unique 4-door Thunderbird, blending personal luxury with sedan practicality. Under the hood, the standard setup was a 390 V8, but buyers could also go for the more powerful 428 V8. It's worth noting, though, that this 428 wasn't the high-performance Cobra Jet. That engine was reserved for the Mustang and Ford's muscle car lineup. This version was tuned more for smooth, effortless cruising than quarter-mile blasts. 1968 Imperial. For years, Chrysler's Imperial brand stood as a worthy rival to Cadillac and Lincoln, offering luxury, power, and exclusivity. With strong V8 engines, plush interiors, and refined styling, the Imperial was always a solid choice for buyers who wanted something a little different from the usual luxury options. But by the late 1960s, the Imperial was starting to lose ground. The 1968 model was actually the last year it truly stood apart from the rest of Chrysler's lineup, with its own distinctive interior design and upscale details. Just a year earlier, in 1967, Chrysler moved the Imperial to unibody construction. It was a cost-cutting move, but it didn't really hurt comfort. It just helped production expenses. For 1968, the updates were minor, more about refinements than big changes. Power still came from the big 440 V8, rated at 350 horsepower, which gave the car plenty of authority on the road. After this year, though, the Imperial slowly lost the uniqueness that once set it apart, becoming more of a dressed-up Chrysler than a true, standalone luxury brand. 1968 Cadillac Deville. By the late 1960s, Cadillac was the king of American luxury. Sales were strong, the lineup was diverse, and the brand's reputation was unmatched. They had just launched the front-wheel drive Eldorado, which was a big hit, but Cadillac wasn't about to stop there. For 1968, they brought out one of their finest engines yet, the massive 472 cubic inch V8. This powerhouse, making 375 horsepower, became standard across the lineup. In the Deville, it was the perfect match, delivering effortless acceleration and smooth highway cruising. Styling was equally impressive. Cadillac refined the clean design language they introduced in 1965, adding stack headlights, a bold grille, and a commanding presence that let everyone know this was the top of the luxury game. The combination of cutting-edge engineering, unmistakable style, and sheer presence made the 1968 Deville one of the finest luxury sedans of its time, and a true symbol of Cadillac's dominance in the era. 1968 Oldsmobile 98. Back in the 60s, Oldsmobile was one of General Motors' most respected divisions, sitting comfortably between Chevrolet's affordability and Cadillac's prestige. The brand had a reputation for building solid, stylish cars with plenty of performance, and at prices that made luxury a bit more attainable. At the very top of the lineup was the 98, Oldsmobile's flagship sedan. It was always the car that best represented what Oldsmobile stood for: elegance, comfort, and strong performance. And in 1968, the 98 reached one of its finest points. That year brought a fresh redesign, modern styling, and more creature comforts than ever before. Under the hood sat the mighty 455 Rocket V8, producing 365 horsepower. With that kind of muscle, the 98 could move with authority while still delivering the smooth, refined ride buyers expected from a luxury sedan. The 1968 Oldsmobile 98 struck a perfect balance between Cadillac-level sophistication and Oldsmobile's own brand of understated performance luxury, making it one of the standout full-size American sedans of its time. 1969 AMC Ambassador. For most of its life, American Motors Corporation was seen as the underdog, building affordable, practical cars, but rarely anything that could compete head-on with Detroit's Big Three. Still, in the late 60s, AMC was having a surprisingly good run. Sales were strong. Their sporty Javelin and AMX had grabbed plenty of attention, and the company felt bold enough to take on the full-size sedan market. That's where the 1969 AMC Ambassador came in. This was one of AMC's more serious attempts at moving up market. The new model featured clean, modern styling, improved interior comfort, and more space than before. In fact, AMC even went a step further by making air conditioning standard equipment, a rare and impressive touch at a time when most buyers had to pay extra for it. Under the hood, buyers had plenty of choices. The lineup started with a humble 283 straight 6, but stretched all the way up to the big 401 cubic inch V8, which gave the Ambassador the kind of performance needed to hang with larger, more established competitors. The 1969 Ambassador may not have been as iconic as offerings from Ford, Chevrolet, or Chrysler, but it proved that AMC could deliver a full-size sedan with style, comfort, and features that genuinely stood out in its era. 1969 Dodge Polara. When Dodge rolled out the 1969 Polara, it was part of Chrysler's all-new fuselage design era. This fresh look ran across the company's full-size lineup, from Dodge all the way up to Imperial. The idea was to create cars that looked sleeker, more modern, and more substantial. The Polara fit that bill perfectly, with smooth, rounded sides, a wider stance, and a body that carried a lot more presence than the outgoing design. Buyers had a wide range of engines to choose from. Things started with the trusty 225/6, but the real excitement came at the top of the range with the 440 cubic inch V8. In its hottest form, it was good for 375 horsepower, and during the height of the muscle car craze, that's what most buyers wanted. The Polara wasn't just a family car either. It became something of a legend in law enforcement circles. Many police departments across the country ordered 440-powered Polaras because of their combination of durability, handling, and brute force. To this day, retired officers will tell you the 1969 Polara was one of the best pursuit cars Detroit ever built. It wasn't quite a muscle car in the traditional sense, but with that big 440 under the hood, the Polara could certainly hold its own both on the street and on the highway. 1969 Buick Wildcat. The Buick Wildcat is one of those nameplates that tends to fly under the radar today, but back in the 60s, it was a seriously appealing mix of muscle and luxury. First launched in 1963, the Wildcat slotted right between Buick's full-size comfort cruisers and the rising wave of performance cars. It carried Buick's trademark clean, understated styling, but added a sportier edge with more powerful engines and trim details that gave it real presence. By 1967, Buick expanded the lineup to include a four-door version, which made the Wildcat more practical and broadened its appeal. That move paid off, helping to boost sales while keeping the car's performance character intact. For 1969, the Wildcat got a fresh new look in line with the times. Longer, lower, and sleeker. Under the hood, it also gained Buick's brand-new 455 cubic inch V8, making an impressive 370 horsepower. With room for 6 adults and plenty of power to back up its name, the Wildcat was very much a hidden gem, a performance car dressed up in full-size Buick luxury. It might not get the same recognition today as a GTO or a Chevelle, but in its time, the Wildcat offered a perfect blend of class, comfort, and muscle. 1960 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. When people think of Cadillac's most exclusive creations, their minds usually go straight to the 1957 and 58 Eldorado Broughams. But tucked away in the history books are the later 1959 and 1960 models, cars that many enthusiasts argue were the finest Cadillacs ever produced. What made them so special was not just their rarity, but the way they were built. Unlike standard Cadillacs rolling out of Detroit, these cars were handcrafted in Italy by the legendary coach builder Pininfarina. That partnership gave the Brougham a level of finish and exclusivity no other Cadillac could match. Of course, exclusivity came at a steep price, nearly 3 times the cost of a standard Cadillac. Unsurprisingly, that meant production numbers were tiny, with only about 200 built over the 2-year run. Underneath, the Brougham wasn't just about looks. It carried advanced features like air suspension and was powered by Cadillac's proven 389 cubic inch V8, giving it both grace and performance. Styling-wise, it resembled Cadillac's regular lineup, but closer inspection revealed subtle differences that set it apart as something truly special. The 1960 Eldorado Brougham remains one of the most elegant and desirable Cadillacs ever built, a rare blend of American luxury and Italian craftsmanship. 1965 Chevrolet Caprice. When Chevrolet first rolled out the Caprice in late 1965 as a 1966 model, few could have predicted just how successful it would become. What started as a luxury trim level for the Impala quickly grew into a standalone model that went on to span 5 generations and sell in the millions. The Caprice was designed to be a step above the Impala, more refined, more upscale, and with just enough visual differences to set it apart. It was Chevrolet's way of giving buyers a full-size sedan that carried a sense of prestige without straying too far from the familiar. By 1966, the Caprice came standard with a V8 engine instead of the six-cylinder that most base models of the era carried. Every car also featured a vinyl roof, adding to its premium feel. For drivers who wanted more than just comfort, Chevrolet offered bigger engines like the 396 and 400 cubic inch V8s in the Caprice four-door hardtop, making it a sleeper luxury car with some serious performance potential. The Caprice marked the beginning of a new direction for Chevrolet, one where luxury and performance could coexist in a single package. 1965 Dodge Coronet. When Dodge rolled out the fifth generation of the Coronet in 1965, it quickly became one of the most appealing mid-size sedans on the American market. Buyers loved its balance of size, practicality, and style, and Dodge made sure there was a Coronet for just about everyone by offering it in 6 body styles and multiple trim levels. What really set the Coronet apart, though, was the engine lineup. Dodge made their legendary 440 cubic inch V8 with 375 horsepower available across the range, giving even the family sedan some serious muscle. But the real stars were the extremely rare Coronet sedans fitted with the 426 Hemi. Those Hemi-powered Coronets weren't just quick. They were among the very fastest sedans you could buy in the 1960s and 70s. It was proof that Dodge was willing to blur the line between family car and drag strip weapon, giving the Coronet a legacy that still excites muscle car fans today. 1969 Chrysler New Yorker. Chrysler wrapped up the 1960s in style with the introduction of its bold new fuselage design language. This look brought smooth, rounded sides, a wider stance, and a lower, sleeker profile that gave a New Yorker a thoroughly modern presence on the road. Chrysler was so confident in the design that they applied it across the board, from Dodge and Plymouth to the prestigious Imperial lineup. Mechanically, the 1969-71 New Yorker didn't reinvent the wheel, but Chrysler focused on refining what already worked. Upgrades to the suspension, chassis, and drivetrain improved both ride quality and handling, making this big sedan feel more composed than its sheer size might suggest. Under the hood, buyers could opt for Chrysler's mighty 440 cubic inch V8, the largest engine offered. With its abundant power and effortless torque, it gave a New Yorker plenty of authority on the open road, reminding everyone that luxury and muscle could indeed go hand in hand. 1967-68 Mercury Park Lane Brougham. As Ford's luxury division, Mercury was known for offering upscale features, refined design, and strong performance. But sitting at the very top of the lineup was the Park Lane Brougham, the most luxurious Mercury you could buy. In fact, it came surprisingly close to Lincoln territory when it came to prestige, comfort, and elegance. Introduced in 1967 and sold through 1968, the Park Lane Brougham featured a plush interior, a vinyl roof, and leather seats, along with an exclusive list of optional extras that elevated it above the rest of Mercury's range. It was the perfect choice for buyers who wanted Lincoln-like refinement, but with a slightly more understated badge. Checker Marathon. One of the most iconic American sedans of the 1960s was the legendary Checker Marathon, best known as the classic New York City taxi. Launched in 1960 and built all the way through 1982, the Marathon became famous for its durability and simplicity. Powered by either a Chevrolet straight six or V8, the Marathon wasn't about speed or flash. It was about toughness and dependability. That's why it became the go-to taxi for New York and many other cities across the country. The model lineup included sedans and wagons, and there was even a rare 12-seater version called the Aero Wagon. With its boxy styling and reputation for indestructibility, the Marathon earned a place as one of the most recognizable sedans of its time. These 20 sedans are among the very best of the 1960s. Each stood out for its blend of innovation, design, and power, and together they showcase why this era remains one of the most celebrated chapters in American automotive history.